Havoc with the HGC YouTube gaming channel, and I'm going to be doing the Ragnarok dungeon, Life's Labyrinth. It's everybody's favorite dungeon, and if you're unfamiliar with it, you'll see why. I pieced together this video into different scenes, but each scene should be pretty seamless. I tried to make sure that the next scene started facing exactly how the previous scene left off. We're going to be doing both the right-hand side of the Life's Labyrinth and the left-hand side of the Life's Labyrinth. If you're unfamiliar with that, eventually the dungeon breaks into two different routes that you can go. One route, you get 3 different artifacts. The other route, you get another 3. So in order to do the Manticore boss fight, you're going to have to run both sides. And then if you want to do the boss fight again, you're going to have to run through this dungeon 2 more times. So without further ado, let me show you how to get to the entrance of Life's Labyrinth. So we're in the desert, kind of in the central east, looking at this huge mountain range, and you're going to see this rock formation right here. And I'll bring up the GPS coordinates once we get to the mouth of the cave. My tribe member Dave built this little building right on the outside of this rock formation to kind of make it easy. We got beds and stuff in here, so you're not going to see this building, but you'll see this rock formation. And right here is a little entrance. So 51.6 by 77.5, and I'll put that in the description so it's easy for you to find and reference. Okay, so let's duck down here and enter this. So this is pretty much the entrance right here. There's nothing dangerous in here or anything like that. You can probably hear the spikes right through this first door. You'll see these spikes popping out. You just want to make sure that you run through, maybe even jump a little bit. And let me show you what I brought with me. A bunch of assault rifle ammunition, an assault rifle, shotgun with a flashlight. Shotguns have really nice flashlights on them. A bunch of shotgun shells. 2 sets of my best flak armor. I wouldn't bring your very best. Like if you have Ascendant riot gear, I don't think I'd bring that because the cost to repair it is so high, and the likelihood of your armor getting massively hurt is a pretty great chance. So flak armor seems to be pretty easy to repair, so there's that. I brought some Kalian soup. It can get hot. I brought 3 canteens full of water, 3 full stacks of food. Don't worry about this. This crossbow that I brought has a reusable grappling hook, and I'm going to be running this dungeon with pretty much with the default how the game will allow you. So if you're playing on the console, or this video will apply to you as well. The only difference is near the end of the dungeon, you have to sacrifice something like a shoulder mount or a player. I wanted to try a fertilized egg, and I'll get back to you to see if throwing in a fertilized egg into this fire pit, if that counts as a sacrifice or not. But what I do is I use the grappling hook to lower myself into the pit. The game thinks I sacrifice myself, and then I'll wheel myself back out. It will do a lot of damage to me. I'll almost die, and it'll do a lot of damage to my armor. But that's the one thing that I'm going to be kind of cheating on, solo player. But if you're playing with another person, have one of you guys take off your armor, give it to your friend, and then have the armorless person jump in and sacrifice themselves. Or you could get a shoulder mount, or you could bring in a dodo. Dodo would be a pain in the ass. Best bet is to get a couple shoulder mounts maybe, and just breed them simply for the sacrifice. So continuing on, I brought some Enduro stew, focal chili, Lazarus chowder. I forgot to empty that out of my inventory. And a scuba tank. One of the routes you go, you'll need a scuba tank. So Okay, well that pretty much wraps up the summary, I think. So, off we go. Enjoy the video. I'll be commentating on it as we go through. I won't be playing as we go through it, though. I'm going to just kind of narrate it. So, I hope you find this video useful, and put any questions or concerns in the comment section. I'll be sure to address it. Okay, so for the first part of the dungeon, you gotta spell the word grata, or grata. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's G-R, and then an A with an apostrophe over it, T-A. So you gotta find the buttons. You already saw me press G. You gotta hop this wall to press R. And there's quite a few acrobatics that take place throughout this dungeon, so be prepared for that. The last A is actually pretty difficult to get to. This took me a few tries, but I kind of figured out a good way to actually make these jumps here without getting knocked off. What I found is if you don't strafe at all and you just use the forward button, like W, or if you're playing on a console, just forward on your thumbstick, and then like angle yourself at the wall correctly, and then make sure you jump before you hit like that little ledge, those little ledges, because if you hit the ledge it will bounce you off of it and you won't make the jump correctly. Okay, so once you spell grata or grata, it will open this hatch and you'll jump down into this pool of water. And what we're going to be doing first is the right-hand side of the Life's Labyrinth dungeon. So when you come in here, you're going to need to lay down. If you stand up or crouch or anything like that, you're going to get hit with fire, and it's going to do a ton of damage to you and your armor. There's multiple buttons in here. The one I just pressed is the one that you're going to want to press to go through the right-hand side. And I made a mistake here. I should have gone over that little ramp. But what I did is I clipped this right-hand side ramp, I think is what I did, and I got nailed. So you can see how quickly it hurts you. So my armor took a lot of the grunt of that damage. If I were naked, I would have died instantly. So this next part, we're now on the right-hand side of Life's Labyrinth. And we'll do the left-hand side here after we complete this side. So this is jumping part of the right-hand side. For this jump right here, you're going to want to kind of jump a little bit early. If you get too far down, you'll probably not make it. For these close jumps, depending on what your speed is like, how many points you put into speed, I'm pretty fast, so it's easier for me to turn around and make those small jumps. And don't feel bad if you don't get this on your first try. I think this took me 2 or 3 times, so... As my Russian teacher would always say, "Повторение мать учения, comrade." And that means repetition is the mother of all learning. I'll never forget that. So you can try to go that other way. I think this is a little bit easier, and then just going straight for that ledge. Okay, so that section is complete. One thing to mention, some of these buttons don't do anything. Some of them open doors. Some of them open doors that you don't necessarily need to go through. Some of them set off traps. This part here, it looks like if you jump into this empty square right here, that's what you're supposed to do. But bats will come down and swamp you anyway, so... So have your shotgun ready. Now, I'm not sure if you've noticed or not, but I'm at level like 200, 230 or something like that. I've got the max player level cap up to about level 500. But to balance that out, I also have the max wild dino level cap at level 300. I've got videos for both of those if you're interested in doing either of those. If you're playing Council, you're shit out of luck. But it does equal it out as far as difficulty of enemies go. The enemies in dungeons can get up to level 600 with that max wild dino cap being at 300. So yeah, I can get up to level 500, but the enemies are pretty hardcore too. In proportion, I think it's actually a little bit more difficult the way I've got it. Level 600 enemies are nothing to scoff at. Being a higher level doesn't make an assault rifle do more damage, for instance. Okay, so in this room, if you would have just went up to that red loot crate and opened its inventory, you would have gotten nailed by something that shot out of the wall. So the safest thing is just to crawl through there. So that button didn't do anything. That button didn't do anything. The right button you want to press is this one right here. Okay, so this is what you'll find on Gamepedia. It's a map showing you how to get through this labyrinth area. It's a little bit difficult to understand, so I wrote down in words. You can pause it or write this down yourself. So I'll read it as we go through. It says go through the right door, straight 2 boxes, and by boxes you can see the pillars are like little rooms. So straight 2 boxes, that's the second box. Take a left 1 box. Take a right 1 box. Left 1. Right 1. And then right 1 box through the door. Then left through the door. And then straight through the door. And then straight 2 boxes through that door. Left 1 box, right, left, right, left, right. You'll see a switch right here. You're going to want to turn around and go through that door. If you get lost in this area, it's actually kind of a big deal. It's a pain in the ass. It took me a while of messing around in there. I was actually starting to get dehydrated, and I had 3 canteens. I'd almost about gone through all of them because I had spent so much time in there trying to figure out where to go. So right here, you're just going to want to watch out for this pit. I don't think it's instant death, which is probably worse. I think you'd land in there and get hurt, and then you'd have to wait in there forever until you died. So there's 1 artifact. Artifact of the Clever. Okay, so this part I actually, when I first went through it, and this is where I have one of my scene transitions, I took off all my armor to try to spare my armor from taking damage, and I died instantly. This is the pit that you're supposed to sacrifice either a dino, like a shoulder mount, or a dodo, or a human being. So what I'm doing is actually tricking it into believing that it sacrificed a human. And I know typically you wouldn't be able to do this because this dungeon doesn't allow you to use grappling hooks vanilla, so that's the one spot I cheated. But I mean, really, if you breed shoulder mounts, no big deal. Or if you have a friend that you can have strip off their gear and give it to you and then jump in and sacrifice themselves, that would be perfect. The boss fight is no big deal, so yeah, these walls come in. They don't crush you though, they just freeze you in place for a while, and then they'll open back up, so it's not life or death. Now we're in the boss area. Now there's going to be 3 waves, and you'll see for me, I think it's like level... The first wave I think is like level 100 or 200. The last level is 500, a dire bear and a dire wolf. But yours won't be that high unless you have the max wild dino cap up. So you gotta kill one of those deer or megalosaurus or whatever the fuck they're called to get these guys to come out. So the first wave is level 100 for my settings. Dire bear and a dire wolf. And then you just wait a little bit and the next round will come. And you see that rubble right there? I think you can actually jump up and kind of get out of range. So if you're slow and you can't like kind of run away and get some distance like I'm doing, you might want to try jumping up there. Also, you can take the focal chili to increase your movement speed if your speed isn't that high. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so the second wave is 200. Okay. Yeah, and then once we get through all these waves, that force field looking wall will disappear, and we'll be able to grab the artifacts then. Okay, I think I said 3 waves. There's 5 waves. Forgive my error. Yeah, so if you're playing the default game or you're playing console, the enemies won't be this high. So. Alright, spirits have calmed. That means the force fields are down. And we can grab the artifacts. Okay, so now we can exit this area and exit the dungeon. And I guess if there's one nice thing about this dungeon is that the exit doesn't lead you somewhere way off in the distance from where you started. You can actually get back to the beginning of, where you first entered just by going out and then around, which you'll see here in a second. So yeah, I mean, it's not too terribly dangerous or anything like that, but the jumps can be really tricky, and if you don't know your way through that labyrinth, you can really get lost in there, like no joke. Okay, so we made it out. The right side is complete. So we're just going to take it right out of there and head back this way. And we're back to where we started. So now we're going to go through the second way. I fast-forwarded this to spare you from wasting too much time. But I just wanted to make sure that, nothing was confusing and that, yes, you have to do this part again, even to go just through the left-hand side. So there's some repetition in going through both sides, but yeah, so again, jump before the vertical ledges, and try not to strafe, just push forward against the wall, make sure you're angled at a good angle. Okay, so we're back in the fire statue room, and we're going to go through the left-hand side now, as opposed to the right-hand side. And the left is going to be majorly different from the right-hand side. That's going to have different challenges. Much easier to get through this side without getting burned. Okay, so this is why we brought the scuba tank. You can make it through here without it, but, I mean, why not just bring it? There is a loot crate down here, but, you know, whenever I'm running this dungeon, I'm here for the artifacts. Like, I don't mess around too much. I mean, if the loot crates are right there along the path anyway, which there are several, it's like, well, might as well grab those, but I don't go out of my way too much to find loot crates. And, you know, maybe somewhere down the line I'll make Explore Edition of this dungeon like I've done with previous dungeons. Not gonna lie, it's taken me a while to put this all together, so it's all in the hopes of helping my fellow ARK players. So yeah, I noticed there wasn't a whole lot of great walkthroughs around, so I thought I'd try my hand at it. Yeah, okay, so you don't want to go rushing in there. Enemies are going to drop down, and as you can see, a trap that shot stuff out of the wall happened. Yeah, these Onyx just kick my ass going through this dungeon. Okay, so the button you're going to want to press is the first button on the right-hand side. The other one, I believe, does set off a trap. I think it might drop grenades down on you. Okay, so you can go right or you can go straight. You're going to want to go straight. I think there's a loot drop down that, loot crate down that right-hand side, but... So when you kind of first enter that open area, poison grenades are going to drop down. So you might want to back up or just run straight through. And then a second set of traps will fall down as you go through there. And some Titanoboas. No big deal. Okay, so be careful coming down the staircase. There's a pit there, and you don't want to fall into it. I've never fell in there before, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it might be pretty much instant death, so just be careful. Okay, so between these two doors, you're going to open that up, you're going to turn around and see this, and it's kind of inevitable, probably, running into a spike or two. You gotta kind of weigh it. You know, there is such a thing as an acceptable loss, and getting hit by 1 or 2 spikes is better than lingering around too long. Yeah, and if that door shuts, if you're taking your time too much, and if that door shuts, it won't open back up, and you're pretty much screwed, so... Okay, so it looks like here you can go different ways, but you're going to want to hit these buttons and go back the way you came from. And it will open up this area here, and just go ahead and hit all 3 buttons that you see here, and go through this door. And you're going to head back the way that you came. Make sure to watch out for this pit up here. And that door was shut, and this door was shut before. So what we just did is we went past there to actually open those doors and come back and go through them. Okay. Now this part, watch out for the ceilings, because those are traps, and if you pass underneath them, they'll shoot down on you. There's a button in between this pillar and the wall. This opens a door at the end of this corridor. And you don't have a whole lot of time. You actually got to be pretty quick here. When you come down this aisle, grenade traps will be set. I think you can actually get around the corner before the grenades explode. So you can either wait or you can try to go for it. That wasn't my proudest moment of accuracy. I was just sticking with the theme of getting my ass kicked by Onyx. Yeah, so you can see that Onyx was level 400. $540. Yeah, so you won't see enemies that high if you're playing default. But I try to equal it out, you know. Hey, I can get up to level 500, but there's also a lot more dangerous creatures, so... Okay, now we get to another jumping puzzle, and this one has spikes involved with it. And again, like that other room, like, I just think that you just gotta accept that you're gonna get hit by a spike or two. You could sit there and try to figure out the pattern in which the spikes pop out. But I think that's a waste of brain capacity, so I just go for it. The spikes don't do a terrible amount of damage, I don't think. The armor seems to handle them pretty well, so... It doesn't seem to do a whole lot of damage to the armor, and a lot of the damage, I think, is deflected by the armor, so... As long as you got armor on, I think you should be okay getting hit by a couple. Yeah, and sometimes you can just jump over one or two of these, depending on what your speed is at. Okay, so don't miss this. Don't miss this artifact here. I could see if someone was just trying to cruise through this dungeon here and just ran straight, thinking maybe it was just like a yellow drop or something. Okay, so now we lead back to the Death Chamber room, and this does link up to the right-hand side, so if you have a group of friends and you split up, you can actually meet up here. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if a fertilized egg will count as a sacrifice. I think it should, but probably not. It's something I'll try, and then I'll leave it in the description or the comment section and let you know what I find out with that. Okay, so just like the right-hand side, we got the closing corridors. They're not going to kill you, they're just going to trap you there for a little bit. More of a nuisance than anything. Okay, so now we're back into the boss arena, and I sped it up since, you know, we already did this. And for some reason, they weren't spawning, so I'm not sure what I did to make them spawn. Again, I think it's this next wave that takes a while to come out. And I'm not sure what it is that I did to make it so that they didn't come out. Or, I don't know. But all is well that ends well, so... I guess if you come across this problem, just kind of mess around, kill a couple of those deer, just kind of run around until hopefully they come out. It's kind of funny the sounds that he makes when when he's sped up. Rest in peace, Vern Troyer. Okay, I think they're going to come out here in a second. And I thought might as well, since I had a little bit of time, take a couple pictures. That way I could have some pictures to choose from when creating the thumbnail. I think it's one of these that you actually see in the thumbnail, so... There we go. Yeah, now the rest of the waves come out like they're supposed to, so... Okay, one more wave. I was going to try to get up there to test it out, but I got charged by the bear pretty quick. I thought this would be high enough too, but it wasn't. It knocked me right off of there. But I could have gone up a little bit higher if I had more time. So, again, if you're a slower character, then that's something you might want to try. They might not be able to touch you up there. Again, I'm being a nerd. Trying to figure out a good thumbnail picture. Okay, massive, artifact of the massive, and the devious. So, all that's left now is just to return to the beginning.